Welcome to the WiseTake DFS podcast. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And yes, as you can see, we are joined here yet again by Matt Amen. You can find him on Twitter at Matt Amen123. Matt, how we doing tonight?
We're doing good. Just finished off with a profitable day of DFS, so I'm happy, and I look forward to talking about tomorrow's slate. It's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I appreciate the fact that you're always all about the, about the business, about daily fantasy in general. But man, it's Memorial Day weekend. Like, how'd your weekend go? Like, how's your weekend going? I should say.
It was okay. I've been a little sick the last couple days, so it's been a little bit touch and go. But went out last night with my wife. Went to the beach and kind of watched the sunset, so that was nice. And I'm going to the Angel game tomorrow night, so yeah, everything's good in my world.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You should have a good time as long as you can figure out what pitchers and hitters you want to use, because we have two slates tomorrow, and on Memorial Day, this wonderful Memorial Day, and they're not easy, right?
No, they're not easy. There's not a lot of pitching to choose from. Plenty of bats. But I actually have very strong opinions about the pitching tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm excited. I have a couple spots I'm going to go all in on, so I'm excited to start it off.
Yeah, definitely. We got a lot to get through, and both slates are situations where you're going to have to choose sides, and so I'm glad that you're here with the stances, and yeah, the jersey is fresh too. I just responded to the chat. I just read that and I was like, "Yep."
Hey, I had to represent. It's Memorial Day tomorrow. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world, so I'm always going to be representing the red, white, and blue for sure.
Oh yeah, hey man, you're not gonna hear an argument from me, man. I'm a military brat, man. I'm all about it, man.
Yep,
all about
absolutely.
it. All right, man. So let's go ahead and let's dive in. We're gonna start with this little early slate here. So we're gonna skip the 1 o'clock because on FanDuel it's only available on the all day slate. Is that the same on DraftKings? Is that the case or?
Yeah. There's no Yankees Baltimore, and you have to be insane to play that all day slates. I mean, it's just like I mean, who has time to sit there and wait for every lineup to come out and edit all that stuff? And the prize pools are small, so yeah, we could skip it.
Yeah. I almost feel like the only reason they have those up there really is for like DFS sites to pull like the all day salaries to get them all from one slate. I feel like that's the only logical reason of why they even have them on there because I just can't imagine like too many people wanting to play with the amount of feedback people got, like negative feedback there was about like NBA when they took away late swap and about lineups not being released. Like I would imagine that there's very few people who play DFS regularly who actually like those all day slates, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Let's do this. All right, we got Brad Peacock of the That's what you get when you tune into the live podcast. That's something that, like, unfortunately, those listening on Monday, it's still, you're going to have a great time. You're going to get the information, but it's a lot of fun. I know it's late at night, Sunday night, 11:30 on the East Coast. On the West Coast, it's not that early. It's not that late. So we expect you to come on. But come on, have a good time. Matt's over there. If you see him, he's just responding to the chat. He's physically responding to the chat. So if you're wondering what he's doing, that's all it is.
They wanted to know who I was repping.
There it is, all day.
I got the 2010 Kobe Olympic jersey on. So they wanted to know who it was.
Oh, come on, guys. You know Matt's out in Cali. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, we got Brad Peacock of the Houston Astros visiting Irvin Santana of the Minnesota Twins. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, Irvin is the most expensive pitcher on the slate, but I have no interest in him. There's a couple guys I like more. He doesn't have the K upside that I'm looking for, and the Astros don't strike out, and their opponent lineup, and the wind's blowing out in Minnesota. So I just have no interest in Irvin. And then on the other side, Peacock is maybe somewhat interesting at his price tag. He had a really good outing last time out, and the Twins, they're a decent offense, but they strike out a decent bit. They're kind of middle of the road at everything. The problem is, he's not going to go more than 75 pitches or so it's hard to really get excited about him. But at his price tag, at least on DraftKings, you're going to need a couple cheap pitchers if you're going to want to stack Coors Field on the slate. So maybe you could go to Peacock. I don't think I'll do it, but maybe he's interesting. On the bat side, this is a game I don't have a ton of interest in on either side. Like I said, Peacock is decent. The Astros bullpen is decent, and then Santana is decent enough to where, with all the bats on this slate, I'm not going to have any interest.
I got you. No. I'm sorry. I got a little distracted there at the end. You're not going to go with Santana or
Right.
Peacock, but you were saying you like the Houston Bats, right?
No, I don't really like the Houston
Oh,
bats. I said
oh,
I think Santana is decent enough to keep
oh. Okay.
A. There's literally like 11 teams you could want to stack on this slate. So
Right.
I'm not going to pick on, you know,
Man,
one of the best pitchers on the slate.
no, I gotcha, and I'll give Santana his due. He certainly is. Here's my thing. My thing is with Santana is, um, over the last couple of years, his numbers against righties at home have been like, for some reason, they're declining a little bit. So I don't know if it's people that are seeing him better in that park, but regardless, if the numbers are there telling us he's got a 4.8 projected run total against Santana, and mind you, Santana's having a great year. So to me, I'm seeing just 4.8, and they're favored with Brad Peacock, which don't get me wrong, Peacock did look really good in his first start. I'm not taking anything away from him as a pitcher, but the total's pretty high here, for both sides. So they seem to think there's going to be some kind of scoring going on here. So with that said, Irvin Santana, who's having a great year, is an underdog at home, and on top of that, the Astros. We all know the Astros. Springer, Altuve, Correa. They seem to hit better against righties in the long run. They seem to really mash the right-handed bat. So if Irvin Santana's struggling lately, or lately as in the last couple of years at home against righties, then I think this could be a sneaky good spot for the Astros. Now, in cash games, obviously, you want to get to cores, and that's the bottom line. But in tournaments, I don't mind the Houston Bats here, especially given the fact that they're playing in Minnesota, a known pitcher's park. People aren't dying to play hitters there. Houston, they've been red hot. So I'm with you on Santana. And the cash game, I don't trust attacking him. But in a GPP, I think it could be interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean it's fine. It's fine. I mean you can go there. It'll be low owned and game theory and blah blah blah. But for me, there's just plenty of good spots. And also, it's like on DraftKings, like the Astros aren't priced down enough to really make it worth it for me. Like they're still kind of their regular prices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I understand. All right, we got David Price, the lefty from the Boston Red Sox, visiting David Holmberg, the lefty from the Chicago White Sox. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so this is, I said there's maybe 11 teams that you might want to stack on the slate, and here's your first one. The Red Sox, excuse me, are in a really good spot. Holmberg's numbers are pretty decent this year, but all of that's coming in the bullpen. And it looked like he did start a couple years ago for Cincinnati, and he wasn't good, and he got hit hard. So it looks like it's going to be a nice day in Chicago tomorrow, warm with the wind blowing out. So the Red Sox are going to be up there with the top stacks of the day. And then on the pitching side, we know David Price is awesome, but he's making his first start of the year, so I would assume they won't let him go really deep. And then also the White Sox are pretty good against left-handed pitching, so I don't think I'm going to be able to use David Price here, but maybe in his next start, I'll be interested to see how he looks. But I'm not really on the White Sox, although they could be sneaky if Price isn't right, in his first start back, but. Like I said in the previous game, there's too many good spots for me to want the White Sox.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to like Price here. I always have a hard time playing somebody on their first game after being injured for a while. This is going to be his first start of the season. So listen, it's against a good opponent. It's the White Sox, and don't get me wrong, the White Sox have been going nuts against Detroit, but I mean, outside of Verlander, it's anybody's going to go nuts against Detroit. So it's like, not all that impressive. It's a hitter's park. There's a lot of righties here with power. We got Todd Frazier, Abreu, all these guys. So as much as I want to like Price, especially at 9-6, getting him under double digits against a bad White Sox team, I feel like he can only go there in tournaments. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't feel comfortable throwing him in cash, but we don't know what he's looked like. We don't know anything about the situation. The White Sox have been swinging the bat well, so Paul Park's not there. So I'm with you. The bats on the Red Sox for sure. 5.3 run total. That's pretty nice. And Matt, you were telling me that Holmberg is typically a bullpen guy. Is that what it is?
Yeah. He's been in the bullpen all year, and I don't think he started in a couple years. I had it up here earlier, but
yeah. So I'm with you, man. I think the Red Sox bats are in a great position, and the White Sox is like this is the situation where I'm like, there's so many good spots. I don't see why you would even want the White Sox. Like I don't think you need them, even if they do hit Price. There's so many other hitters in good spots that like. If Todd Frazier hits a dong, like you should be able to find somebody else to hit one too. Like I don't think they're gonna kill you. I don't think, right?
Right, absolutely.
All right, here we go. We got your boys, Matt. Rich Hill, the lefty from the Los Angeles Dodgers, visiting Mike Leake of the St. Louis Cardinals. Looks like it's gonna be a little warm, 82 degrees out there in St. Louis. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, with the wind blowing out. This is a rematch of a game that happened a couple days ago. I don't know if these two pitchers squared off. Let me look real quick, or if it was a different matchup. No, yeah, these two pitchers squared off. Yeah, so these two pitchers squared off a couple days ago at Dodger Stadium, and Leake was really good and Hill was really bad. We know Rich Hill's had all kinds of blister problems, and I still think the Dodgers are going to be really cautious with him. And he had 7 walks in his last time out, so no way I could go to Rich Hill here. And I actually think the Cardinals are a little bit sneaky, just because if he's going to have walk problems, if he's going to have blister problems and be out in the second inning, then you'll get a Cardinal stack at really cheap prices at really low ownership. So some interest there. And then Leake was great against the Dodgers the other day. I mean, I'm not going to go here. One, it's going to be warm with the wind blowing out, so it's a totally different hitting environment. And then 2, the Dodgers do hit righties well. And whenever a pitcher is facing a team, for the second time in a short period of time, I do kind of give the edge to the batters. So, I don't think the Dodgers aren't one of my top stacks by any means. But if you wanted to go to any of their lefties as one-offs, Seager, Bellinger, Grandal, I would be fine with that.
Yeah. I'm definitely with you. Now, here's the thing. Like, I got to talk about Rich Hill again. Listen, at 8-4, he's going to be tempting, and I'm not telling you not to do it in a tournament. I wish I could trust him because listen, any model is going to love this guy, and the reason is because he's got the most strikeout upside on this slate, considering the matchups, right? Like if you're considering home and away splits, lefty righty splits, etc. Rich Hill's he's in a very good spot, and just looking over some of his numbers over here. So we've got, let's see. We've got an 11 Ks per night. That's 32.54% when he's on the road. A 232 WOBA over the last 2 years on the road. So the guy's good. The problem is, and Matt would tell us better than anybody, is the blister issues. And even the chat, that they're all on it. It's the blister issue. So it's like, listen, at 8-4 on FanDuel in a core slate, in an ideal world, yeah, you could just plug in Rich Hill because he's been great, and FanDuel just left him at 8-4 for some reason, and then and you play cores. But that's not the case. And the Cardinals did recently tag him up. We don't know how long Hill's going to go. They're playing in a warm day in St. Louis with the wind blowing out. So it's like, listen, I love Hill. I just can't do it in this spot in a cash game. But in a tournament, I think there's certainly merit. I don't have an interest in Leake here. Like you said, it's tough for a pitcher to see the same team twice and have the same outcome. So while he pitched well in L.A., he does struggle against lefties, and the Dodgers hit righties pretty well. And what we just mentioned, 82 degrees, wind blowing out. So yeah, man, I think I like your Dodgers a little bit here, man. Sure. Especially, who knows? I think if Utley plays, listen, he's sitting 7th. But if you're looking to, me and you were talking about for the slate. We were saying what with this early slate? It's going to be pretty much scrubs and cores, at least in cash games, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough on DraftKings because if you want to play cores, you're going to have to pay down at your second pitcher spot. It's slim pickings, so it's going to be tough.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got Sam Gaviglio of the Seattle Mariners visiting Tyler Chatwood of the Colorado Rockies. Looks like it's going to be about 71 degrees out there in Coors Field. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously your best spot for hitting. The Rockies are going to be your chalk offense. Gaviglio's not good. The Rockies have been hitting really well. The Mariners, traveled from Boston into Denver, so they might be a little tired. And I expect the Rockies to destroy Gaviglio tomorrow. So obviously the Rockies, all their bats are in a good spot. I do think Chatwood as your second pitcher on DraftKings is a little bit interesting. He is a ground ball guy. He is not terrible. Of course, he's really cheap. Seattle hasn't been great of late. And like I said, they're traveling across country. Their first game in Coors, they lose the DH, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think Chatwood is a little bit interesting at his price. Now, of course, you can stack up Seattle if you want to, and they'll certainly be lower owned than the Rockies will be. But I don't think I'm going to do it. I think there's better spots, so I think I'll have Colorado exposure, but I think I'm actually going to avoid Seattle.
Interesting, avoid Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you avoid like Kyle Seager or Robbie Cano or Is Cruz hurt? Is Cruz hurt?
I think he played today.
Did he play today? Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. He's in there. Okay, I was looking at the projected lineup, but I didn't see him at first. I skipped him. But like again, I know Chatwood is known as a ground ball guy, but still like his overall WOBA, even if it's not home runs, he gives up hits. He gives up a ton of hits, especially at home, obviously because he's in cores. So I don't know. I think I like Seattle a little bit more. Like, listen, I like the Rockies too. Don't get me wrong. But like, even when it comes down to the splits, like Kyle Seager against a righty or no Arenado for 5K more on FanDuel against Caviglio, it's like I think I might prefer Seager. But I guess in cash, you kind of got to go Arenado because he's safe, quote unquote, safer. Like I don't know. I like Seattle here a lot. I do.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Seattle.
Right.
I mean, you can go there. I'm just saying I'm going to take a stand. I like the Rockies better. Gaviglio is his first start in cores. I think he's a lot worse than Chatwood. Chatwood's used to pitching in cores. He's a ground ball guy, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where I'm at.
That's a good point for sure. So maybe you go Rockies in cash and you mix in some Mariners in tournaments.
Absolutely.
All right. We got Randall Delgado of the Arizona Diamondbacks visiting Trevor Williams of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, definitely no on the pitchers here. I think Arizona is in a great spot here. Trevor Williams is not good, and blah blah blah. And actually, PNC is known as a pitcher's park, but it's going to be warm tomorrow, and the wind's blowing out, and this park plays totally different during the day in those situations. So I think the ballpark is actually a big plus in this matchup. So I like Arizona a lot, and I think they'll go overlooked with all the other good spots. And then on the other side, Delgado is a bullpen guy. He started the other day. He's not terrible, and I think Pittsburgh is totally fine if you're going to get a full bullpen game from Arizona, and they're cheap. So I like all the bats in this game. Arizona, of course, is I prefer. But at these Pittsburgh prices, I like them a lot too.
Yeah, man. I think you hit it on the head with this game as far as people are going to avoid it. It's something similar going into the Mets series when the Mets were playing the Pirates. On one of the slates, we had mentioned that listen, there's a lot of good slates, a lot of good spots on the slate, and nobody's going to go here because nobody wants to play anybody in this ballpark. And sure enough, I think it was the Mets who went nuts that night. I think Lucas Duda hit a home run, all these other guys. So it's another situation like that. You got the Diamondbacks; they can swing the bats well. They're going up against Trevor Williams, who still hasn't proven that he's got anything left, or he's got anything there. And they both 4.5, 4.6 projected run totals from Vegas. So yeah, this game's gonna go under owned. It's nice weather, about 80 degrees, 44% humidity out there in Pittsburgh. This game's gonna go very under owned when you compare it to all the other spots here on the slate. So yeah, I think this is a great place to get your bats in tournaments. I definitely do. I think it's a great place to target bats on both sides for sure. Neither of these pitchers have chosen anything. I like the D-backs a lot. I think in this spot for tournaments. All right. We got Tanner Roark of the Washington Nationals visiting Matt Moore, the lefty from the San Francisco Giants. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, no on Roark for me. He just doesn't have the strikeout upside, and the Giants just don't strike out enough, and he's just too expensive. So no on Roark. On the other side, I think Matt Moore is at least interesting at his price, especially because it seems like the Nationals keep rolling out these weird lineups without some of their best guys. Is Daniel Murphy still hurt? I know he's been out the last couple of days, so he might be out tomorrow.
He wasn't actually hurt. He was sick. I think.
Oh,
he was sick. And so I think I read he could have played today, like he was available off the bench, but they just decided to not play him. Or I think Harper didn't play, Worth didn't play, a bunch of guys didn't play.
Right. So, anyways, I don't know what kind of lineup you'll get tomorrow, but definitely check on that. But if you look at Matt Moore, he has huge home road splits this year, which of course is understandable in that ballpark. But the Nationals strike out some, and you're going to need to pay down some more pitcher. I'm not excited about it, but I do think Matt Moore is in play. And then, with all the great offensive spots, I don't want to do it. I don't want to play either of these teams in San Francisco. The Nationals are way too expensive for me. And then, Roark, as I said, I'm not going to play him, but, he keeps the ball on the ground pretty good, and I don't think the Giants can win you a tournament in this spot.
Yeah, that's the whole issue with the Giants is they can't really win you a tournament. I'm not crazy about Roark. I get the logic behind it. It's a good ballpark. Listen, if you're gonna play Roark, this is one of those situations where there's not gonna be very many better spots to take a chance on him than in this spot because he doesn't have that ceiling you're looking for. But on this kind of slate, we don't know what the ceilings really are. Like, yeah, we know Rich Hill is capable of. We don't know we're gonna get Rich Hill that we're hoping for. We know with a lot of these guys, like Price and some of these other guys we talked about, Santana. We don't know what we're gonna get. So it's tough. There's not a lot of ceiling as it is. So it's like, yeah, you can certainly consider him. As far as Matt Moore, I don't know if I want to pick on the Nationals. Now listen, he's been playing well at home. Go figure. He plays in San Francisco. And listen, he's not terrible, but he does get hit hard from time to time. And the Nationals have just too many good hitters. I don't think I don't think I can go there. However, I will say at 7-4, he's certainly one of the better, cheaper options if you want to get to that Coors game or some of those higher bets for sure. Let's see. Okay, we got Matt Garza of the Milwaukee Brewers visiting Robert Gsellman of my New York Mets. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, if you have to play a cheap pitcher on DraftKings to fit in Coors, I think for me this is going to be the game I do it. I don't think Matt Garza is good by any stretch, but you have to click on somebody's name, and he's been decent this year. The strikeout rate's been up a little bit. The Mets can strike out a little bit. The ballpark's good for pitchers. It's going to be cooler with the wind blowing in. And then, Gesellman, at least the matchup's good as far as strikeouts. So maybe he strikes some people out and he's really cheap. So, I don't want to do it on either side, but I think, both of these guys are in play. And then, on the bat side, neither of these pitchers, like I said, are good. So you can go here if you want. But I think I'm going to attack the other spots on the bats.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Listen, I love my Mets, and I don't think that I'm not dying to play either of these guys, although I do think playing both of them could make sense because both of these offenses are kind of off and all that. But there's so many other good spots on the slate, and while I do think maybe the Brewers and maybe the Mets will go a little under own, I don't care. I still, there's just so many other good spots. I don't think I want to go here. I really don't. I think I'm with you there. So yeah, man, I think there's merit in both pitchers. Matt Garza, if you look at his numbers over the last couple of years, they're terrible. You look at his career numbers, they're terrible. Why? Because most of his career he's been terrible, but for some reason this year he's playing well. His swinging strike rate is up, while Gsellman's swinging strike rate is down. These two guys are kind of, you would have thought. Last year you would have thought Gsellman against Garza easy. Give me Gsellman all day. I'm not thinking about Garza. This year it's a competition, and it's not so close. But I will say on FanDuel 6-5 Gsellman. If you want to take a shot, the Brewers do strike out. A lot of righties here now. Gsellman has struggled against righties at home, but remember, he's still young. He's only pitched for I think the second half of last year, so we got a tiny sample size on the guy. So I'm with you. If you want to throw Gsellman out there, I see the chat's throwing Gsellman's name out there. If you want to play the Coors guys or the high price bats at 6-5 on FanDuel, it's tough to go wrong. How much is he on DraftKings, man?
What are we talking about? Gesellman?
Yeah.
5,600.
Yeah, so I think it's a situation where I listen. If you want to do that because you don't want to pass up on the bats, I totally get it.
Hey, I'm going to make you at the end of the slate. I'm going to make you pick one of these cheap pitchers to pair with Coors.
Well, no, I think if I'm going, I could tell you so far, I would probably go with Gsellman. If I'm playing DraftKings and I'm trying to pair it with Coors, I'd probably go with Gsellman. He'd probably be my good. And listen, honestly, if Garza was the same, if the prices were flipped, I'd tell you Garza. It's strictly a price play at this point.
Yeah, the more we get into it, the more I think Brad Peacock is interesting.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And then he's coming off a good start. It's just how long are they gonna let him go? That's the question.
Right.
But hey, if he's cheap enough, man, you could take that chance for sure. Let's see. We got Daniel Mengden of the Oakland Athletics visiting Carlos Carrasco of the Cleveland Indians. Go ahead, man. This should be interesting.
Yeah, I think Carrasco is certainly in play. He hasn't been very good lately, but Oakland strikes out a decent bit. I would expect the Indians to win this game, so I would think the win is there. We know that he has the strikeout upside, and I might have already said it, but the A's are really bad. So, I think Carrasco is very interesting. There's one pitcher I like in the next game that's my very favorite, but I think Carrasco is my second favorite. And then on the other side, Mejden was decent this year. I'd have to dig a little deeper to see what he's been doing in AAA this year. He's dead free on DraftKings 4,300, but I hate attacking the Indians with right-handers and certainly guys guys that aren't very good. So I can't see myself going here unless my research tells me something different. But yeah, and then I love the Indians bats here, and they're all fairly priced. Lindor and E5 and Brantley and Santana and Kipnis and Ramirez. They're all cheap and they're all in a good spot. So I like the Indians a lot here.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Indians bats for sure. I think they're in a great spot against Mangden. And obviously, 5.6 projected run total at home, pretty good. Now, one thing that I thought was interesting about Carrasco, listen, I'm not taking nothing away on this kind of slate. Like, listen, if we had DeGrom, if we had Scherzer, if we had all these other guys, then I would definitely be avoiding Carrasco. But on a slate like this, with where there's not too much of a ceiling anywhere because there's so many question marks with these other pitchers, I get Carrasco does have he's probably got one of the higher ceilings on the slate. My issue with Carrasco is over the last couple of years, for some reason, and Vegas, think about this. Vegas, Cleveland against Oakland, 120. No, okay, it's 237. Okay, it updated. Okay, there we go. That makes a lot more sense for Carrasco. That makes me feel a lot better. A 3.5 run projection for Oakland. Now, I'm going to be honest. From what I've seen from Carrasco initially, his home numbers are scary. I mean, significantly worse than his road numbers. It's strange for pitchers, but it's kind of backwards. But you're talking double-digit K per nine down to 9 K per nine. It's still high. Don't get me wrong. 24.62 K percentage. It's still there. But his WOBA even 337 over the last 2 years at home. That's an 11.19% worse than when he's on the road. A 390 WOBA to lefties and a 291 WOBA to righties. So the lefties gotten the better. The thing is though, it's Oakland. That's the thing. It's still Oakland. It doesn't matter. Like you can. It's a situation where you don't really have to pay too much of attention. It's still Oakland. So yeah, I think Carrasco is one of the safer options on the slate. I'm with you. He's not my favorite pitcher, believe it or not. I think I might like maybe the same guy as you that's coming up later, but I'm with you. I think Carrasco's in play. I get it. He's got the upside, but he's actually not one of my favorite plays, especially considering his price. All right, we got Kyle Hendricks of the Chicago Cubs visiting Jared Cosart of the San Diego Padres. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, on this slate, I'm all in on Kyle Hendricks. I've just been streaming pitchers against the Padres every day. I just play pitchers against the Padres, and why not Hendricks? He was great last year. He hasn't been as good this year, but he's been decent. He's been decent. You know what I mean? Like all of his starts, the last 5 or 6 have been decent. And like I said, the Padres are the worst. The ballpark is good. They probably should get the win. Cozart's terrible. So if I make 100 lineups tomorrow, they're all going to have Hendricks in them and just hope for the best. But I love him in this spot compared to everybody else on the slate. And then on the other side, Jared Cozart is just terrible. He just literally doesn't strike anybody out. He walks a ton of people. The only thing you can say for him is he's been keeping the ball in the ballpark. No home runs given up this year. But, I mean, this guy he's terrible. So don't play Cozart, and you certainly could stack up the Cubs. And, there's so many good spots on this early slate. It's hard to know kind of where they rank for me. But, I think I have them. I'd probably rather play the Indians. I'd probably rather play Arizona, and certainly I'd rather play Colorado. But I think maybe the Cubs are 4th stack for me on this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I figured this was the guy. Kyle Hendricks is also my favorite pitcher of the night for cash games for sure. He'll be the guy I'm plugging in. He's 9.4. I love attacking the Padres. I love this ballpark, and the fact that he's cheaper than Carrasco with also when you consider that he does have strikeout upside in a great matchup. I just like the price better. So I'm probably gonna go with Hendricks in cash. I'll probably put him in some GPPs too, but definitely in cash. He'll be my guy, and he'll be the guy that I try to get my access to the big bats like Coors and all that, my cash games for sure. On the other side, yeah, you nailed it, man. Like it's Cosart. I'm not gonna hide from this, and I don't see why you wouldn't attack the park. I know it's a bad ballpark, but still, man, home runs are hit there regardless. They might not be hit as often as Coors Field, but they're hit there. Cosart doesn't strike very many people out, and the Cubs' biggest issue was strikeouts. So if they're not striking out, then they're hitting the ball and they're hitting it pretty hard. So I love the Cubs' offense here. They're gonna go overlooked, and they face some tough pitching in LA. Remember that. And like, listen, they just hit Kershaw, but they face some tough pitching over there. Even the bullpen and all that stuff. It was tough. So yeah, man, I love Hendricks. I like the Cubs' offense for sure. That's pretty much it for the early slate there, man. So I know that you were telling me you would want me to pick a second. I think in tournaments I would probably take a chance on a guy like Peacock or something like that. But in cash, it would probably be Giseleman, just because he's so cheap and at least he's got some kind of experience. What do you think?
I mean, on DraftKings for cash, I would just play Hendricks and Carrasco and just kind of figure it out.
Figure the rest out.
As far as cash goes, but as far as tournaments go, I'm probably just going to be throwing darts. Like I said, I'm going 100% Hendricks, and then I'm probably just going to throw some Matt Moore darts, some Chatwood darts, some Garza, some Gesellman, and some Peacock. That's probably going to be my pitcher pool.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. All right, man. You ready to jump on to the night slate, the main slate? They call it the main slate.
The main
Yeah,
slate. Oh
the
yeah, I'm
main
ready.
slate. Sure.
I'm excited for tomorrow. My wife is taking the kids with her sister and her mom to the beach, so I get to sit home all day and watch baseball. So
You're just gonna DFS it up all
I'm
day,
oh yeah, I'm excited.
all day. All right. We got Mr. Bonilla here. I'm not gonna keep messing up his name. I don't want to offend
Bobby's son.
nobody. What is it?
I said Bobby Bonia's son.
Oh my God. Anyway, Bonilla of the Cincinnati Reds visiting Marcus Stroman of the Toronto Blue Jays. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we know I always like Stroman, and he's the highest priced pitcher on this slate. And he's fine. It's not the best spot in the world. The Reds are a pretty good offense, and they don't strike out very much. So I'm not in love with him, and he's not my favorite pitcher on the slate, but he's certainly fine. And then on the other side, Bonilla, it seems like he stinks. We don't have a big enough sample size to know for sure, but it looks like he's no good. The Jays have been hitting pretty well. So I think the Jays are going to be, one of the better stacks on the slate. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's much more to say than that. I'm not going to the Reds, even though I said that I'm not a huge Stroman on this slate. But there's, I think the Jays are in a really good spot, and their prices are pretty fair. I mean, Kendrys Morales, 3,600. I love that price on DraftKings. And the Jays just recently got healthy. They got Donaldson back. They got Tulo back, so they're much deeper and much more potent than they've been. So the Jays are in a good spot here.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Jays are certainly in play. It's tough with Bonilla because we don't have enough of a sample size, so it's tough to really go by any stats seriously. But listen, he's gonna have to prove it to us against these Blue Jays. The Blue Jays they're waking up, like you said, they're getting healthy. Donaldson's back, Tulo's back, Russell Martin, all these guys, they're all back. They're healthy now. So listen, they weren't doing that great even with these guys, but they certainly were doing very bad without them. So now that they're bad, it's not gonna hurt, and I'm assuming it's gonna help quite a bit, especially against a guy like Bonilla. So I think the Blue Jays you nailed it with the bats. Stroman, man, we like playing Stroman. We like playing him in cash. We like playing him, normally he's one of the plug and plays. But against these Reds team, man, I don't like picking on these guys. I really don't, man. Like, I understand they have a 3.7 run projection, but still, they're not striking out a ton this year. They get on, like, Billy Hamilton is getting on base. Peraza's getting on base. They're doing what they got to do, stealing bases, and they're making it. So I don't want to pick on them, man. Listen, I think Stroman is okay in cash. When we go down the rest of the slate, we'll kind of see that there's not too many options you feel comfortable with. So I guess he's an option, but he's definitely on FanDuel. He's not a number one option. On DraftKings, though, in cash games, I certainly get it. If you find yourself having to play him, I get it because you're going to see if you thought the pitching slate was weird in the early when you're going to it gets we'll be positive and say it gets better at night, but you know what I'm trying to say.
It's not good.
Not good. All right. We got Jeremy Hellickson of the Philadelphia Phillies visiting Edinson Volquez of the Miami Marlins. Go ahead, man.
Hold on, I'm answering one question in this chat.
Hey, man, do it, man. People hanging out with us live. We appreciate it, all you guys in the chat.
Yeah. Anyways, the pitchers in this game stink. Don't play the pitchers in this game. Hellickson's no good anymore. He's not striking anybody out. He's walking a ton of people. He's getting hit hard, and I actually think the Marlins are kind of really sneaky in this spot. I think they have potential here. And then Volquez, I mean, he's no good. He doesn't strike anybody out. The only problem is are the Phillies potent enough to win you this slate with some other kind of good spots? I don't know if they are. So, the Phillies are fine, and, they're all decent prices. But I prefer the Marlins in this spot. But, all the bats are in play in this game. I always wonder, like, why is Marcell Ozuna always so cheap? I just feel like he's way better than his price is always. But yeah, I mean, I digress. All the bats in this game.
Yeah, I think like with him and even Stanton, like listen, Stanton's usually priced up because I think they respect him. But Fuego mentioned it earlier. I know Fuego was talking about it in the early slate how Stanton is like always underowned and he is, and you know what it is? People just don't like playing guys from Miami. Like Realmuto gets a lot of play because he leads off for a catcher sometimes, and that's like, oh wow, catcher's leading off. So, but other than that, people just don't seem to really like to play these guys. Boer's never really highly owned. Yelich, Ozuna, none of these guys. So on FanDuel, it looks like they're respecting him. He's up to 4K on FanDuel, so it looks like he's getting some respect there. He's more expensive than Stanton, just to give an idea. But yeah, man, that's a great point. Miami's going to continue to go overlooked. And I'll tell you what, now this group open and closes, correct, Matt?
The roof open and closes. That's
Okay.
correct.
If they leave this open, I'm seeing about 87 degrees with 63% humidity. That ball could be flying out there.
That would be a big deal. If the roof's open, I love this game for sure.
Yes.
It's usually a pitcher's ballpark, but with the roof open, it totally changes. But it's pretty rare that they open it up.
Yes, absolutely. And Hellickson's K numbers on the road have not been good. Miami doesn't strike out a ton anyway. I'm seeing about a 16.2% K rate on the road. His WOBA is significantly worse on the road, which is saying something because he's been playing in Philly. I'm seeing a 327 road WOBA over his last 2 years. And righties, 345 WOBA to righties. He's significantly worse to righties on the road for some reason. And so, yeah, that bodes very well for this Miami team. I don't love Volquez like Matt was saying. I don't hate them because of the fact that the Phillies are terrible. So maybe if you want to play a safer option that's really cheap. What's his price on DraftKings? Is it super cheap or no?
6,500. The thing is, like, I
No
don't
upside?
think there's any offense that's expensive enough for you to have to do it.
You don't need them. Right.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna need it. Like the last slate, I think you need it because you need a cheap pitcher because there's like some really expensive bats.
Right.
But I don't think there's any on this slate that you need. So, I don't think you're gonna need it.
Right. Absolutely. So maybe we'll stay away from the pitchers altogether, but I certainly like I like the Miami bats a lot here, especially Stanton, Ozuna, Ramuzzo. Boer's been red hot, man. Like all these guys, man. I love the Miami, especially if they open up that roof, man. Load up on Miami. I was gonna say that if they open up that roof, load up the wet.
I mean, for people that don't know, there's an account on Twitter that's like, I'll find it. It's like, is the roof open at Marlins Park? It's something like that. I'll try to find it real quick. Marlins. Yeah, it's just at Marlins Park, and it'll tell you if the roof's going to be open or not.
Oh, yeah, that'd definitely be good to know. And you're not going to miss out on that for sure. All right, we got Daniel Norris, the lefty from the Detroit Tigers, visiting Jason Hamill of the Kansas City Royals. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, on this slate, we've talked about how bad the pitching is. I kind of think both of the pitchers in this game are interesting. Norris is a guy who was a big prospect, has decent strikeout upside, and the Royals stink. They're especially bad against lefties. It's a good park for pitchers, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Norris is interesting here, and I'll have him in some tournament lineups tomorrow. And then on the other side, Hamill, I think he's bad now, but he had a really good start in his last start against New York, and the Tigers are pretty banged up. JD Martinez got hurt today. Kinsler's on the DL. And they're pretty right-handed. So if JD's out tomorrow, I think Hamill is somewhat interesting, and I think that the Tigers will be, pretty high-owned in this spot, so it could be a pretty interesting leverage play. Even though I don't think Hamill is good, he has a decent strikeout rate, and he used to be good, so, I think he's somewhat interesting.
Yeah, I think that you make a good point. Listen, you started with Detroit is banged up, and that's the bottom line. They're beat up right now. And listen, you still got Miggy, you still got some guys to worry about. So, listen, we're not telling you to plug Hamill or Norris, either of these guys, in a cash game setting. But in a tournament, if you want to get funky, nobody's going to really be on them. Now, I will say that it's 78 degrees, 42% humidity in Kansas City, but it's still Kansas City, right? Like the only time that I think it matters is if we're seeing in the high 80s and the low 90s, stuff like that. That's when I think the weather really takes an impact down there in Kansas City. But other than that, I'm just not crazy about it. I know Vegas has high run totals here, and even the algorithms for FanDuel. Both these pitchers are super cheap, 6'3" and 6'7". But like you said, Norris is supposed to be good, and he does get some strikeouts. Hamill's at home. Hamill's got a decent K rate, 8 Ks per 9, which isn't terrible. And Detroit does strike out, especially to righties. And Hamill's got better numbers overall at home, which makes sense because he pitches in Kansas City. So I don't really like anything from this game on a FanDuel perspective, but yeah, I certainly see the merit in avoiding the hitters just because of the fact that both these pitchers are somewhat respectable. It's not that they're respectable. Like if they were against the Cubs or something like that, we would be targeting them. But both of these offenses are struggling right now, and Detroit seems hurt. So. All right, we got Erasmo Ramirez of the Tampa Bay Rays visiting Martin Perez, the lefty from the Texas Rangers. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is going to be your chalk offensive spot. As far as the pitching goes, I think Martin Perez is at least interesting on this slate. I know that's like unbelievably gross to say, but we know the Rays lead the league in strikeouts, and Perez has been okay in his last 2 starts. He had 8 strikeouts 2 starts ago against the Phillies. and he was okay against Boston in his last start. So, I I don't want to do it, but maybe he's in play. I like the Rays stack here though a decent bit too. They've been okay. Beckham hits lefties well. Souza hits lefties well, and Longo. So I think the Rays are interesting here. And then on the other side, we have someone in chat saying that Erasmo closed today, so maybe it's not going to be Erasmo.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, well, they did. They played a marathon game.
That's right. They did. They went some serious innings. So I wonder who would be up next then.
Well, on DraftKings it says Ramirez pitched a perfect 15th inning Sunday, but will still make his scheduled start on Monday despite relief appearance.
What?
Yeah, so that's crazy, and I don't know if that's true, but it looks like it will be. But anyways, if it is him, I mean, it doesn't matter. If it's not him, it's going to be some random bum. So we're still going to love the Rangers bats here. It's going to be hot in Texas. And the Rangers are a pretty good offense. Do they have the highest run projection on the slate? They probably do.
They have 4.9. I know it's up there. Yeah, I think so.
Pull
No,
up.
no, Toronto does. Toronto's got 5.4.
Toronto does. Okay, yeah, second highest. Anyways, I mean, no matter who it is, I'm going to love Texas here. So, yeah. Texas bats, I like the Rays a decent bit, but I think Martin Perez is at least interesting a little bit.
Yeah, man, I think you're right with Perez, especially considering the fact I know Fuego was saying it shouldn't matter for pros when they go to these extra innings, but it does matter when you factor in like travel and things like that, right? If you're on the road already, you're not really all that comfortable, and now they're going from Minnesota to Texas and probably got in pretty late, I would imagine, or later than they expected, and so listen. I think if you're going to play Perez, it's only in tournaments. I want to say that. Now, Perez has terrible K upside himself. But sometimes when you combine it with the other team's ability to strike out, sometimes you can get there that way. So at 7-3, nobody's going to play him, that's for sure. And so I think if you're going to play him in a tournament, it's fine. But I think you should have some hedge stacks with the Rays for sure because we know they can hit home runs and Perez can give them up from time to time. And like Matt said, it's going to be warm here in Texas. And we know that there's going to be runs. So I love the Texas backs. I know Ramirez. Listen, he's been looking pretty decent. Texas is another team that strikes out a ton. And listen, Ramirez is as bad as we all like to pretend he is. He really hasn't been all that terrible lately. Like even going back to last year, it hasn't been as bad as I always kind of thought he was. So. Listen, I know that the run totals are high here. I'm not, but honestly, for tournaments, both pitchers have some kind of upside here because both teams strike out a ton. They really do. Even the Rangers, they strike out a ton too. With that said, though, I still like both the bats, so it's like a hedge GPP. This is like a GPP only type game, right?
Yeah.
All right, we got Julio Teheran of the Atlanta Braves visiting your Los Angeles Angels.
Of Anaheim.
That's it. Ricky Nolasco going up there. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at this game tomorrow, so I will help. I'm gonna be all in on Julio Teheran. I love him in the spot, so I'm gonna try to help him at the game tomorrow. I'm gonna bring my tomahawk for the Braves. I'm gonna be in the stands. Whoa, the whole Braves thing. Wearing my Angels shirt, but. Anyways, I love Teheran on the spot. We know he struggles with lefties, and the Angels don't have any of those, so he doesn't have to worry about that. There's a good chance that Mike Trout is out tomorrow. He hurt his hand sliding into second today, so if I was betting, I would say he's going to be out tomorrow. So there's not much to fear in this Angels lineup. And then on the other side, just because the pitching's so weak, I think Nolasco's at least interesting. Just because the Braves don't have a lot of pop in their lineup, I don't think I want to go there. I don't think I probably will go there, but I think he's in play. And then as far as the bats go in this game, maybe a low-owned Brave stack, but it's a big ballpark. I think it's supposed to be cool tomorrow night. So I don't think I love the bats in this game. Maybe Matt Kemp is cheap as a one-off. I always like Inciarte, I think is interesting, but I don't have a ton of interest in the bats in this game.
Did you see what Fuego was telling you in the chat? He said, "Bring a mirror and shine it in the batter's eyes."
Well, I'm going to do whatever it takes for Teheran to succeed tomorrow. If I have to be yelling, doing whatever.
Matt was on here earlier before we got on the show talking about how he's going to be blowing in from the outfield.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know what, man? I'm with you on Teheran. He feels safe. It's weird to say that because he's an underdog. but especially if Mike Trout does not play, you're getting a pitcher that has decent K upside. Like, listen, his numbers historically have been better on the road. Now, keep in mind, he was playing in a pitcher's ballpark. That's not the case anymore. So now, this year, he's playing in pretty much, I think it's safe to say he's playing in a hitter's ballpark at this point. So, those numbers are going to adjust over time. And this is a situation where he's getting that ballpark again. So, he's got a 298 WOBA on the road. Listen, 327 against lefties, 269 against righties. This is a right-handed heavy team. I think the lefties that they'll see tomorrow is 3, and we're talking Calhoun, Valbuena, and Espinoza. So maybe Calhoun, a little, but like Espinoza and Valbuena, they're not all that scary, right? And even if he gives up 3 home runs, all these other guys are right-handed. If they don't have Trout, listen, if Trout's in the lineup, I don't know about Teheran. He hasn't been reliable enough. I might have to rethink things. But if Trout is out, I think Teheran is going to make my cash game, just because the Angels are bad as it is. You always talk about it, Matt. They're your team, and you always talk about how bad they are. But but without Mike Trout, that's a whole different level of bad, right?
Sure is. There might not be many people at the game tomorrow, too, if Trout's not there. It might be just me and my little guy. We might be the only ones there. Be like 40 people there, and I'll have to explain to him. He'll be like, why is Mike Trout not playing? Be like, he's hurt, buddy. Why? I don't want him to be hurt. So it'll be sad. But I'll tell him, hey, buddy, we're rooting for the Atlanta pitcher.
I was just gonna say, like, what are you gonna tell him when you tell him that you're rooting for the Atlanta pitcher?
He's gonna be confused, but I'm just gonna have to explain to him. Daddy has a lot of money on this guy, and if he does good, I'll buy you a toy on the way out. And so.
Oh wow, the bribe. That's how it's done, man. I'm learning a lot from you. I don't have kids yet, so I'm learning a lot. That's how it's done there. Hey, listen, if Daddy wins the money, you get a toy.
That's right. That's right. I've been telling him all the time. He comes and sits with me, and he'll always be like, "Hey, Daddy, if this guy hits a home run, can I have $5?" And I'll be like, "No, Daddy doesn't have this guy on his team, so you don't get anything if he hits a home run." So he's always asking, "Is this guy on your team?" So we're creating some good habits.
There you go. Oh God. Oh God. Starting young, man. Good habits. There we go.
My wife's not a big.
Oh, I can imagine. All right, man. You ready to play some Dong Watch, man?
Let's play some Dong Watch. I got to pull up the all-day slate here. I need all the days. My son did.
I need all the days. I need all the days.
My son came in right before the show, and he did make a pick. So
did.
We'll have to get his pick in there.
I don't think that it's gonna hurt you. I mean, first of all, he's a good player, and
I don't want him today though, but we'll put it in his column. So my son, he takes Bryce Harper first.
Yeah, Bryce Harper.
So there you
put it in his column.
Put it in his column. I'm not taking it.
Oh, that's true. He's going up against Matt Moore in Safeco.
In San Francisco, yeah. I mean, it's fine. He might do it.
San Francisco. I said Oh my God. Yeah.
You're going to Seattle.
Yeah, seriously.
Are we taking out Coors Field today?
Yeah. We always take out Coors. I mean, yeah. We're gonna keep it out of there. So, I think I'm gonna go with Ozuna. That's what I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go with Ozuna.
Ozuna.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I get 2. I always forget that. My bad. Let me see. Now I gotta find. You know what? I think I'm gonna go take. I'm gonna take Springer, man. He's been hitting the ball really well. I don't mind him against Santana, really. All right, now you get 2 here.
All right, I'm going to take Jake Lamb and Mookie Betts.
I completely forgot about that Red Sox game. I didn't even look at it. Just completely once we started playing the Dong Watch, I just completely skipped it. Let me see. Maybe I will take. Nah, I'm not crazy about that or that. All right, I'm gonna go back to this Miami game here, and I'm gonna go with. Let me go with Stanton here. Hedge myself a little on that. I got Stanton, Ozuna, Springer. You got Harper, Lamb, and Betts, correct?
Yep.
All right. Great call. So real quick before we get out of here, Matt, it looks like I did put it in the chat. I asked if anybody had any questions. It looks like we had one question. We got DraftKings or FanDuel. Which one is better for beginners, or is it irrelevant?
I mean, for me, it's irrelevant. I mean, both kind of have pluses for beginners. FanDuel's a little bit easier because you only need one pitcher. But I kind of, for beginners, if you're playing GPPs, DraftKings has the quarter arcade every day. They renamed it to something else because they have the new arcade mode. But they have the quarter tournament that you can enter a lot, and it's pretty soft, and you can get some good experience in there. So I think both have their merits. So it's just kind of personal preference for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think it's a little bit more relevant. I think it depends on the kind of person you are, and I
Yeah.
think that how you do like well, once you're playing, you'll realize very quickly what your strengths are, and then you can analyze. Oh, would I be better at playing FanDuel or DraftKings? Because you know what, on DraftKings, you're gonna have to be better, like more comfortable with taking ugly players, because the pricing is so much more strict, and you have to find two pitchers every night. Whereas on FanDuel, you pick one pitcher, and then everybody else is like, even when you're picking like a Kershaw, you can still find ways to afford studs. On DraftKings, you can't always do that. So it's not that it's harder or easier. It's about what's your style. Are you better at digging and finding those players that nobody else is gonna that nobody else knows, but you know he's cheap and you know he's undervalued today? Or are you one of those players that you're pretty good at picking the good guys on the right days? And if that's the case, maybe FanDuel's your case. But I think you made a great point with DraftKings as far as the quarter arcade. If you're learning GPPs either way, financially, it makes more sense to play DraftKings because you're getting more entries for 25 cents. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But either way, I think it's irrelevant. But great question. I think that was from D. Patrick over there on the chat. But yeah, it looks like that's about it, Matt. So listen, man, pleasure, man. Appreciate having you on here, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm excited for baseball tomorrow.
Oh
Watch all
yeah.
day.
Oh
And
yeah.
hey, and USA also. And if any of our veterans or current military are listening, that we really appreciate all your service for sure.
Absolutely, man. That's a great point, man. We love the military here, but we love our country, as you can see with the red, white, and blue themes we got going on here. But hey, man, it's always a pleasure. Listen, everybody, if you're listening, I appreciate you coming on. I know it's a busy holiday weekend, and if you got a chance to watch, that's great. For those of you watching Monday, have a great Memorial Day. Hope you're attending some barbecues. I hope the weather's nice by you. It's gonna be a little messy by me. I'll be at the father-in-law's house. It's his birthday tomorrow, but yeah, just like you said, Matt, you know how I feel about the about baseball, about the veterans, man. I'm an Army brat myself, so big shout out to the troops. Appreciate everything you guys do for sure, as Matt said. And anyway, Matt, thank you, man. Appreciate it. And all you guys who
Thank
are in the chat right now live, thank you so much, man. It's really awesome having you guys in here. It's always so much fun doing these live shows. And there's a lot of exciting stuff coming from the WiseTake brand. So please follow us on Twitter at @wise_take. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button on those videos. Pump us up. We got a lot of great things coming. We got the WiseTake model coming. We got all kinds of different cool stuff that we're going to be unveiling, and it's exciting. So there's going to be little updates dropped here and there, but all you need to know is keep watching the pod, keep hanging out with us. We appreciate it, and you'll be updated as we go along. But there's a lot of exciting things coming for this WiseTake brand for sure. Listen, like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe. If you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe, and give us some positive reviews, bump us up those charts. Anyway, for Matt and for myself, you guys, thanks for watching. Have a great Memorial Day holiday, and as always, good luck.
Peace.